All right, we will call this park board meeting to order. We'll start with roll call.
Sorry, I have to go off this one over here. Miller.
Here.
Rushmeyer. Here. Schaefer.
Yes.
Scheib.
Here.
Jaeger.
Yes.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we have approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve, Jaeger.
Second, Schaefer.
So,
Oh.
at our last.
Never mind.
Oh, you're good. Our last meeting, we talked about discussing the capital budget today as well.
Okay, I saw it was handed out.
Oh, do we need to approve it still, Jeff? Okay, yes.
Okay.
So, if you'd like to add this as, say, item 8,
You wanted an unfinished? Oh, you wanted a new business?
or it's probably unfinished.
I'm gonna go 7A.
Love it.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the added item of the capital budget request item as added as item 7A.
I'll still second that.
So the other thing, we have some members of the, I'm just killing you today. We have some members of the public, if we wanted to move the forum ahead, we'd let them speak.
We could. And miss all of our exciting items. My only hesitancy with moving it forward is somebody else maybe wanting to come to the public forum and be counting on the time to get here, but does not matter to me.
You could say moving forward, even if somebody attends, calls in or whatever.
Are we expecting other people for the public forum?
Chris said he was coming, but I don't see him here, so. Yeah, I don't think we have to. I just had offered it to him, so, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so the current motion, the Carrot has seconded, is to add item 7A for the budget discussion.
Correct.
Love it. Any other discussion? Before I cause more problems. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. All right. Next, we have the consent calendar. Notice to the public. All matters listed are considered routine by the board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the board votes on the motion to be adopted by roll call. Before we dive into this, I did note an error in the minutes on page 5. We did not adjourn our budget discussion to our special meeting a couple weeks ago. We adjourned it to today. So if someone would be willing to make a motion for that correction.
I'll make a motion.
Wait.
That
Not allowed to make motions. It's terrible.
Given the success of my last one, I was going to give somebody else a chance.
Fair. All right.
motion to amend the sentence to say, to give today's date. It's not a special meeting.
I'll second that.
All right. Any other discussion on approving the amended minutes? Oh, Jennifer, am I? Okay. When in doubt, I'm probably doing something wrong, so I like to check. All right. All in favor of approving the amended minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Someone like to move to approve the disbursements and the financial reports.
So moved.
I'll second, Jaeger.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Great. We survived the consent calendar. Look at us. No presentations, so we're on to item 7A, unfinished business. Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll try and go through this without reading it because I know you guys didn't have a chance to review it. So at the last meeting, it was discussed that the 2% long-term maintenance amount was incorrect. We had 510 in the original budget request, and the corrected 2% number would be 399. P&F Chair Johnson mentioned that the 747.5 for an overall capital request from the parks was an acceptable number, and that if there was any revisions to be made, as long as they were made between now and December, they were open to those and reviewing those changes as long as the number never did exceed the 747.5. So I also mentioned in here that he did offer that there was another $70,000 left over of ARPA funds. That if there was a project that the park board wanted to explore, that that is something that's an option if you wanted to request. So I brought in some of the items here and I just quick listed them out of items that were in the previous draft of the capital fund or capital plan, as well as some of the items that are also identified in that spreadsheet that's in the packet here. Buffalo Hills Playground for 90, JC's, we talked a little bit about this at the last capital one with the concession, the warming house, restroom building, the ice rink for 150,000 each, and the discussion whether or not doing a whole slab versus just a ring slab for the boards there. Mills Field fencing and relocating it, replacing it with chain link for 50,000. The Triangle Park shade structure for 10. The Gregory Park pergola is in the large asset spreadsheet for 2025 at 4,000, and Kiwanis Park Garden with pavers was also identified in 2025 for 2,000. Obviously, that's just up to 2025. There's obviously a handful more moving forward through 26, 27, and so on. So really looking for some direction on Park Board on how they like to handle the capital budget request, if they'd like to make revisions, what those revisions would be.
Thanks, Jesse. Questions for Jesse about this? I think I have a question for our council liaison.
Yes.
I saw in the dispatch there was some discussion about using some of the ARPA funds for police staffing. Did that shake out?
That's different money, isn't it? Yeah, that's a different set of money.
Great, never mind.
Question.
Right.
Jesse, on the ice rink pickleball concrete pad, $150,000. Do we know what the just the border concrete would be potentially without the slab?
I would say it would be around like 25,000.
25,000. And do you know, are we looking at a lot of extra money to add this later versus doing it up front?
No, I wouldn't anticipate it'd be significantly different
Right.
between the two.
It's pretty open. And
It's
then-
it's a little bit more difficult just doing the ring versus obviously a really big slab. So I think the dollar per like square foot, you're going to pay more on just doing the ring.
Sure.
But later on doing the slab, it shouldn't be a problem.
I have a couple more questions. Katie, I think you were gone the last meeting. I was wondering, are we seeing a lot of demand for more pickleball courts versus the ones that we have in Memorial, in addition to the ones that we already have in Memorial?
I believe the ones we have at Memorial are sufficient. Making them high quality would be better than adding more. I think the paint situation, like making them look nice, what we discussed before, maybe at Memorial. But, I mean, it's a growing sport, so I'm looking at maybe doing a league Monday through Thursday next year. So
What was it this year?
just Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
And we had like 36 teams in the summer and then a lot more than that, or it's not a lot more, but additional for the fall. So,
Okay,
yep.
thank you. Andrew, if I may.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask is, and that's why I asked this the last time, I mean, if we have a need, I don't see an issue with adding more pickleball courts over there. I think what would be missing in this cost would be putting anchors in the concrete and having different nets versus what we have at Memorial, which would be, I'm sure, an additional cost to this 150,000. But I think that's something we have to look at moving forward if we add more pickleball areas, is to change the net system that we have.
On the plus side, there's no ponds for people to ride them into there.
Wait till it rains a lot. There will be a lot of ponds there. One big one.
Comment.
Yeah, Kara.
So I thought we were maybe thinking that we weren't going to spend any more money
like, add anything into our huge spreadsheet. So it's great that we have extra money, but what if the pavilion that we proposed for 24 costs us $50,000 and the other pavilion or the gutters are 10,000, you know, I don't know, but I would prefer if we could to like keep that money as like a little safety if possible versus putting in a $150,000 pickleball rink pad.
Yeah, I would say just to build off that, we could hit about 510,000 if we did 2.6% into the Parks Capital Fund. So we'd just be saving a little bit more for more stuff, not adding more. So I think we're aligned on that. We could save more than we had said in the meeting, but still roughly distribute the same way. Kevin.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you for thank you. I'm kind of hedging towards that same general mindset here. There's an endless list of items we could spend this money on, but I'm leaning towards embracing our original conversation was we already know we're short. And remember that our 2% didn't even take into account that front end loading that we were really behind on. I just real quickly just want to be clear on the time frame that we have to work on this decision. We don't have to come back with our actual final budget until I believe the December meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's what he requested, is as long as we have revisions before December for them to review.
Got it. So that would give us, this month as well as next month to talk about this, look at this. This was just handed to us today. So I guess I'm feeling like I just don't have enough information to make the right decision on 150 grand here. I'm leaning towards just saving it and putting it in the pot for stuff coming up, but I'd like just a little bit more time to fret this out, look at our list. Remember that our capital item list kind of identified 2024 needs, and I'm not sure if any of those are actually made their way onto here. So just feel like there's a lot of missing parts here and would like for us to just look at this a little closer before we make a decision today, personally. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may?
Yeah, Troy.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't want to build anything new either, but I wanted to clarify the need for pickleball courts and also to look at that ice rink foundation. And if it's 25,000, that we probably look at doing that, because I think if we already have the boards, and if we're going to do it right, I would assume putting that foundation around the structure is going to help that to be less maintenance moving forward.
So if I quick clarify, I do know that those boards are damaged. We haven't vetted those out with like Becker Ice on what would have to be repaired or if replaced on those yet too. So that is something also to be considered with that. They can't be placed on the ground from those boards. They have to be anchored to a thing, but we're not exactly sure what the conditions are going to be, if they're going to fit properly together or if there's going to need to be replacements. So that is something that we have to consider when even looking at the ring as well.
And we already paid for those, right?
Yep.
So would it be prudent to figure out what that cost would be moving forward before we even thought about putting the rink up?
What sort of, I know winterizing's kind of starting now, Jesse. What timeline would make sense for the maintenance folks to take a look?
Well, they're blowing down the systems, and I know that that's kind of time sensitive before we start hitting freezing, but after that, I'm sure we could get the thing set up and see what that looks like, and then hopefully I can get in touch with the gentleman from Becker Ice and have him give us some insight on that other end of it too.
Like before the October meeting? Does that feel reasonable, or?
It'll be tight on time, but we'll try.
Cool, thanks. Dave, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, Jennifer, when do we expect the council to make their final decision?
On the budget. So I think we have a budget workshop on December 13th at 6 PM, and I assume that the final budget will be approved that second meeting in December.
Yeah, okay, so just be mindful of that you'll need to be in before the budget meeting.
Yeah. So November's our next
November,
meeting is
yep.
kind of our deadline. Not December.
the consensus I'm hearing is, let's talk about this again at our October meeting and kind of noodle on this and go from there. Jesse?
I did forget to mention here, I did put a statement in here, but you also did request some discussion on the annual programs. And what does that look like moving forward as well? So I don't know if you wanted to have that discussion or move that as well to October.
What I meant.
YMCA and community.
I'm sorry, if I can clarify, like the picnic benches, the grills, the annual,
Oh, yeah.
the weed and feeds, those annual programs that we have in the capital program.
Yes. Yeah, so my question with this, kind of where we wanted to strike a balance between having these on the table, right? There's just a blanket amount for weed and feed, for cameras, for picnic tables, versus have it on the spreadsheet and say there's 4 benches in Kiwanis or 3 in Triangle, whatever. What makes more sense for us as a board, to have less stuff but more meaningful stuff on the capital items, or just everything we own is on the capital items, and it maybe gets a little silly that we're saving $50 for a garbage can. So if we have thoughts on that, if we want to noodle on that as well, we can pick that up in October too.
That's my leaning. We just got handed this to us today, so I'd like to have just a little bit of time to talk through it or think through it and come back better informed at the next meeting.
Cool. Jennifer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just clarification, budget workshop on December 11th, final budget approval on December 18th.
Thank you.
So we got 2 meetings.
Right.
So instead of this coming to the meeting in October, are we looking to, would it be good, I think it would be a good idea for us to look through this 2024 and the capital, our long list here and say, try to have some things on the table that we have opinions on before we show up next October?
Yes. I think it would be great for us to have this discussion and then sorted in October. And if anything weird comes up next week or next meeting, we have November as a fallback, but for us to nail this down in October would be real progress. Dave?
Yeah, and I do think that, just make sure that you're aware that council members are looking for you to identify some of these items further down on the list that you're looking for that money for. So instead of.
Not necessarily just save it, is what you're saying.
Exactly. So
Okay.
identify what items on here you think need to be addressed. So we've got plenty of items through 2028. That starts knocking away that, so.
Yep.
All right. I don't think you need a motion, right? Just perfect. All right, next up, we have 60% plans for ARPA projects. Jesse?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the packet, you have the 60% plans from Widseth on the 3 ARPA projects, the JC's improvements, the Lum Park Beach expansion, and the campground expansion. There's some revisions that need to happen yet, mostly on grading, but these plans kind of reflect an awful lot of where they're at currently. Included in the agenda item, I listed some questions that I'd personally like to see some clarification from the park board on what they'd like to see. So we can start with JC's specifically. Brent, if you can go on to a couple pages down, please. And I apologize, I plugged them in, I realized I could probably taken out like the title sheet and stuff like that, but if you want to keep going down. One more page, please. There we go. So this is generally what they have currently. So you can see the gravel parking lot on the west end, a couple signs for handicap stalls, and then the concrete sidewalk progressing from the parking lot, looping around the soccer field, connecting into the existing restroom building. You can see the soccer field, it is raised up. They do show the contours as well as some of the drainage lines where water is supposed to shed. Generally, it's pretty flat soccer field, and then a little bit of grading down for the pleasure rink on the east end between the soccer field and the building and the tree line. So kind of fitting all those things in there. So general comments on the plans, but also specifically things that I noticed here. Does the park board want to see maybe graded berms and trees kind of between the parking lot and the soccer field for like seating and shade, or not to put those there to keep the views from the parking lot open to the park? And then the same question kind of between the soccer field and the pleasure rink. Do you want to see a berm and trees for shade and seating, or not to keep those views open? So those are some of the questions that I had specifically, but again, any comments or input?
I guess I'll start. I think for the soccer field specifically, I mean, if we want to fully utilize the soccer field, we probably want areas that people can sit and spectate from. So, I mean, I guess next to the walkway on the top, I mean, they're not going to go into like the ditch area below the soccer field, but you know, and with all the cars, maybe the seating is there isn't a lot of area to spectate. So I guess I would be a little bit more hesitant to just throw up places where people wouldn't be able to sit and spectate without being kind of on the field, more or less. But, you know, again, that's not, the berms and stuff isn't that big of a deal, but it's just, I think that's the only concern I would have, is just being able to sit outside of the field area, so. It's pretty, I mean, it's pretty tight on the plan. It looks tight on the plan, but in reality, I don't know how much space there is between the sidewalk and the field itself, so. 10 feet, okay.
Jesse, would the field be able to shift east at all?
Absolutely. If that's what you wanted, we can definitely move some stuff around. If you wanted to accommodate like a berm on the west side, we definitely could do a little bit of shifting to accommodate it.
Dave?
Is this a specific dimension for a field? Like, is this a actual soccer field, or is this just a proposed field to play soccer? Because that will make a huge difference in whether or not you can just make alterations or not. Because it appears that it's just the size of a field. I don't know if it is actually a soccer field.
I can't remember what we had in the concept drawing, but it was, I think it's somewhere in
180
the,
by 300.
Yep, there you go. So it was somewhere in the area. We might have shifted it just a little bit less to fit everything in between the drainage way and the sidewalk, but it's pretty close to that. I think the intent was to be able to fit the 3 smaller fields within the larger field as well.
Mr. President?
Troy?
My thought is, if it's a cold, rainy day, you send the kids out and you sit in your car and you watch them from your car. If there's a berm there, you don't get to see it. I'm just saying, some people, I'm thinking of baseball games too. I mean, not from here, but it's not a bad thing to be able to see the field from the parking lot. And, I mean, I think if we're gonna add a berm, we should do it along the walkway on the north side, and just shift the field down some. I don't think it's Olympic-sized field. I don't think anybody's gonna call us out and say, this field is too small, we're not gonna play here. And then perhaps leave the west side by the parking lot. That's my thought. It's nice sometimes, and some people just have a hard time getting to places, and it doesn't hurt or stop someone from sitting on a flat ground area just on the east side of the rocks along the parking lot either, so. And the other part is, I don't know how much it costs to put a berm in, so I don't know, what that does to the cost of the project. Did we have that on our original,
We did
Kevin?
not.
Kevin?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've looked over these drawings pretty thoroughly. I have just a couple, one question. I just want to make sure that I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. At the entrance to the park, at the termination of the road coming in, 3 black dots, that's the sign, am I understanding correctly? Is that where our sign is going to be placed?
Yeah, 3 handicap
Okay, got it.
accessible
There's the
signs.
3
Yep.
handicap stalls, that's where our sign goes, correct? Okay, so, but the bigger global question is that we are right on the precipice of creating a very similar situation to what we have in Gregory here, where maintenance needs to be done well within the park. And whatever these sidewalks are in this pathway here, I just want to make sure that we are understanding how we're going to manage the traffic, the trucks, the vehicles that are going to try to get in to that, to conduct the maintenance, both for the pleasure rink as well as the building itself. So what some of our other partners have done in the area with their parks is they've designed their pathways in such a way that they're not really made for vehicles, they're made for ATVs or smaller vehicles to come in, empty the trash, and bring it back out to the larger trucks that are then parked in the asphalt area. That's what I would personally like to see. So I just want to make sure that if this is going to be the design that we embrace, that we don't have staffed trucks trying to drive down this sidewalk, half on, half off, to get to our building for the maintenance of the ice rink and bringing in beverages and all of that kind of thing, because that is going to dramatically change with this park. So I think that this may very well be right. I'm kind of feeling like it's right, but we need a mindset moving forward that this also means vehicles are not going to be able to do what they can do right now in JC's, which is drive right up to the pavilion.
Jesse, how wide is the trail path?
I believe it's an 8-foot.
What kind of path is it? What is it?
Concrete, I think.
Concrete? So we're ADA compliant.
8 is technically enough for vehicles to drive down, but there's no spot for them to turn around up in the building, up near the building in there. So my fear is we're going to be recreating the exact situation that we have struggled with so greatly. Now, I just want to say that most parks do not really have a struggle with that. They do basically this design, but they keep all of their main vehicles out of the park, and they use smaller utility type vehicles to get into the park, to drop off, plow snow, and so forth. They don't bring full trucks in. So I just want to make sure that we haven't designed this in such a way that we're thinking, oh, great, we've built a new road to get into our park with our trucks and vehicles. So I'm good with this as long as we maintain that mindset.
I have one other question.
Yeah, Troy.
So EMS, where that parking lot ends on the north side, is that just flat? That's just gonna be grass right up to the north side of the parking lot? So if
Yeah.
EMS needs to get in there, someone breaks a leg or something on the rink, they can get down that path back to the rink area?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I believe on the south side, there's enough, I'll call it flat area. It's flatter. I know it goes down to the drainage way, but there should be a little bit of space there that they should be able to get there. You can see on the drawing, it shows an 8%. That's a drivable slope.
Yeah, I know, but if they come in, they can go off the side of the parking lot to get on that path.
South, there's boulders, has bollards.
So I'll clarify the boulders. I asked them to remove most of them from the plans because we were planning to do that through staff.
Okay.
Since we'd pulled them already. So they're indicated in here, but really they won't really be part of this project. We'll do that after the fact.
Understood. The boulders, just to be clear, though, are a critical part of this design so that we don't have traffic driving past the parking lot right across the soccer field, so.
Oh, I thought those were trees. Oh. Yeah, Kara.
Why are we not putting any berms by the baseball fields? I kind of thought we would maybe put them all over. I mean, as an option versus being concerned about the parking lot, because people might want to sit on those to watch baseball, too.
I think we decided that at Bain, but not here.
Oh, was that it?
Correct.
It's harder to put berms in here other than between the two fields maybe.
Got it.
But with the rink going up, I think that makes it really difficult.
Okay. I know we had talked about it, but yeah, if it was at Bain, that makes sense. I agree with what Kevin said about the sidewalks, though. That's a good point.
I feel like we're gonna have the same problem with this. Do we have a Gregory? I'm not sure how we work around that.
Yeah, there's a really easy way to work around it. Everyone, when you leave this meeting, drive over to Baxter. Every park they build, they have addressed this exact issue of how to get staff vehicles only into the core of the park with keeping main vehicles out. They downsize the size of the sidewalks and pathways going in there, and then they use boulders as bollards to keep main traffic out. And they do all of their maintenance, dumping trash cans, sweeping the pathways, mowing, all of that, just down those smaller access sidewalks. It's a great system. In fact, Baxter's not the only place that does it. Virtually all parks that have perimeter parking use a very similar angle of attack on how to keep main vehicles out and keep just utility vehicles in, or gain access just for utility vehicles. So I think we may want to look at the width of that sidewalk.
So I can just clarify, the minimum pedestrian access route is 4 feet. You don't have to go anything wider than that, but 8 feet is kind of standard for like a two-way traffic type of pathway. So that's where they pick the 8 feet, is for a two-way comfortable people to go back and forth, but you can go 5, 6, anything more than 4, you're in good shape.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, yeah, you'll see a lot of them are 6 feet, and that's because the 6 feet is narrow enough that a car can't drive on it with both tires on that path. But it's also wide enough that a standard sweeper that attaches to a Bobcat or whatever, which is typically right around that 5 to 6 feet. 4 is just a little too narrow. It's the same problem we have at Gregory, where the sweeper is over sweeping and killing the grass down the sides of the sidewalk. So 6 is really, really close.
To kind of help with reference, most of our sidewalks that we've been putting in are generally 6 feet. For that same
To
reason.
me, is kind of the magic number. Now, I'll admit, I just misread the plans. I guess I didn't, I assumed that pathway was 6 feet, not 8. So maybe you saw something different than I did, or I didn't notice, but I thought there were 6, so.
Dave?
Is the reason for doing concrete as opposed to doing asphalt?
More accessible. You can do gravel if you want.
I'm just curious about cost, especially in that area since it's so wet. It may be difficult to maintain concrete through there. I don't know.
Is this part of that raised elevation though? Is the sidewalk also? Because I know we talked about raising that whole field up several feet, right?
The field will be higher, and the sidewalk is kind of in that area that's already kind of a little bit higher than that other area. You'll see the parking lot's going to be leveled a little bit more, and it's going to continue to drain north, so it should be up a little bit. But maintaining gravel after, it's just like after any rain event, like the alleyways, eventually they'll need to get regraded and smoothened out. So it's just maintenance, but generally you can make a pathway work with either one.
Yeah, I was thinking asphalt as opposed to gravel.
I think it's a great point, if I may, Mr. Chair. I think you'll find that a lot of parks are using asphalt for those core pathways in, I think for a couple different reasons. Number one is obviously cost to install is dramatically less. Generally speaking, asphalt is roughly about a third to a quarter of the cost of concrete, but it's much easier to repair as well. So I'd be in favor of adopting asphalt core pathways. Again, take a look at Baxter. That's what they do.
Yeah, that would just be my main concern, is just with the knowledge of how wet it is. You know, if the concrete goes, the concrete's a lot more costly to repair than patching a spot of asphalt.
Jesse?
If I could quick clarify, so the width might come into play there too. Most asphalt pavers don't go less than or narrower than 8, at least from the paver side. They can still do it, but it's a lot more handwork, gets a lot more lumpier. So if you go with 8, they can run a paver. If you go less than that, it's handwork, and usually concrete's the better selection for anything less than 8.
Do you have a ballpark, Jesse, of like the cost difference between I know it's totally on the spot, but between asphalt and concrete.
You're talking about just for this path specifically?
Yeah,
You're
from the-
probably in the realm of a quarter to a third of the cost. Even if you were to go with the wider 8 feet, it's probably still going to be a third of the cost of the concrete.
It'd be significant.
How do you feel about the 8 feet?
My fear is with the 8 feet, you've made a perfect road. Any vehicle can drive right down it. That's my concern, and that's why I think most of the ones that I've seen and have been watching and looking at are more like that 6-foot range. Now, you could control the 8 feet if you had the correct bollards, out at the end somehow, or some version of a rampart or something to stop a vehicle from, a main car from just driving down an 8 foot, but 8 foot, a vehicle can fit on it for sure.
I think the other difference here too is we could install a gate on the north side of the parking lot for EMS and have an 8-foot and still pretty much keep traffic out of there. I mean, if we're talking 2/3 cost difference to put asphalt down versus concrete, I think we can find a way to keep traffic out of the park. Whether it be a few more rocks on the north side and a gate in between them or whatever it might be, but I just think we have to keep this open to EMS, if somebody gets hurt bad skating or whatever it might be. I mean, it's not a tremendous long ways for them to bring a gurney, but depending on the injury. I hate to plan for the worst, because we haven't had a skating rink here, so I don't know. I probably haven't had a lot of injuries at the other parks. Katie? Injuries? Bad injuries, broken legs? None that you know of? All right. So it sounds like are we sure we can't go 6 feet on asphalt?
We're not.
If we had like a planter or a bollard, like that would discourage vehicle traffic, but
Yeah.
that is have the cost savings of an 8 foot. I think, right, Troy, people are going to have wagons with kids and coolers and wheeling stuff, so like
Yeah.
bi-directional traffic makes sense there. That width would be nice for people walking and dragging stuff.
Yeah, it is nice. I mean, it's nice to have enough room to back and forth.
I guess where I'm landing is 8 feet asphalt makes sense to me. I think we have tools to keep vehicles off. I mean, it could go as far as the budget discussion.
A center bollard. A lot of them, a lot of parks will have
Oh,
a
yeah.
center bollard right in the middle of that 8 foot, that's just a concrete post that comes up, which will allow smaller utility vehicles to get around it, but you can't drive a car down it. So there's absolutely tools, so. I would like to look into the 6 foot to 8 foot conversation, because that is not aligning with my knowledge of asphalt. Yes, there are 8 foot applicators, but I know there are also other smaller applicators as well. I'm fuzzy on the cost difference.
Yeah, Troy.
So our initial discussion was berms, correct? Berms and trees?
Yes.
Do we need them?
Feels like, no, I didn't really hear any comments in favor of the berms or trees.
Yeah.
So, I feel like our consensus is no for both of those.
I mean,
Well, I feel like, oh, sorry. go
trees
ahead.
on the south side of that field, I think would be awesome. And even a berm would be.
Once we get,
If you're on a berm, someone's kicking the ball that direction really hard. If you're not looking either way, watch out. But,
Isn't the south side like a drainage trench?
yeah, but it's down by where the dotted there, I believe.
Oh, I see.
I think everything has to stay within that perimeter, correct, Jesse?
That's their construction limits. That's where they have the silt fence located as well. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, just also too, we have 25 grand a year of trees that we can plant every single year. So once we get this in, get it shaped in there, if we feel like we need to course some trees in there, we easily have the capacity to do that once we kind of see it, once it's roughed in there. So, and I've been to a lot of soccer games. I think soccer parents' minds would explode if they saw a berm, because I have never, I love berms, but every single soccer game I've ever been to in the history of like all of my kids playing soccer, it's a flat field and all the parents walk up with their chairs and put it right on the side yard, and that's just what they do. But hey, maybe the berm is the right thing, but.
I heard a comment that there have been no pro-berm comments, so for the record, pro-berm.
I also would like to see a berm there.
Where at, which side?
I don't know, I don't really understand, I guess, where would be the best place. Not in front of the parking lot, but, I guess on the north, I don't know what makes sense. Are people gonna sit down there by the goalie and watch the game? I mean, usually, like you said, they line up on either side. But if they're playing 3 games, I get it in the winter. I don't know if kids, how tall is this berm? I don't remember. Like, are they going to slide down it? It's going to be like a little mini sledding hill. I'm not sure. But would it, I don't know if it needs to be by the pleasure rink because it's going to be full of snow. They're not really going to sit on it in the winter. But I just think it'd be really cool to have it. And I know we planned it. I just don't remember where you had it on the plans. I know that wasn't for sure where it had to go. But I just think it might be kind of cool if it's in our budget and we have money for it. It's another place to sit.
Did we have a berm on there?
We did not.
Gosh, I am making this up. I guess I totally forgot. I'm getting parks confused.
I know we did for Bain, but
We
yeah.
did. Lots
It
for
doesn't
Bain.
make sense with the elevation and all the water and all that. Then I don't want to put something in that wouldn't be successful.
Dave?
Yeah, I would add to my comment that it has to fit, if it doesn't fit, or if it's a drainage issue, because I don't know what the drainage would look like with that. If you're trying to cause everything to go to the south and all of a sudden you're blocking it with a berm, obviously you can put drainage underneath that, but, what is the cost to it? What does that add? But I, just as a general philosophy, pro berms, pro trees.
So we can just hold off for now. That's fine.
Yeah, I feel like trees are maybe a good thing to apply once we have this done for like shade where the sidelines get set up, where folks like to put chairs out. But I think let's build it and see what the usage is like. Sorry, Troy, I think I cut you off.
No, it's okay. I would just like to make a motion.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we go with this plan at this point, and just with, Jesse, if you could look at difference in cost between the asphalt and the concrete, but otherwise, just move forward with this plan at this point.
And an option for 6 versus 8 between the two as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we can return with those.
Looking for a second for Troy's motion.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion on JCs? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, Lum, next up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brad, if you could pull up, I think it's page 27. So included here, this is the removal page. Just a few things I'd like to note here, as well as, obviously, again, we're looking for any comments, but some specific ones that I'd like to get some direction from the park board on. The large oak tree. You'll see it kind of there with the circle and the X there, just to the northeast of the existing restroom building. That's shown as removal. Obviously, grading is difficult around and could damage the tree. We could put a little circle around that and say kind of protect. Brent, if you could pull up the to the photo of that oak tree. It's a pretty large, mature oak tree. So obviously, we don't like to lose really big mature trees like that, but it's going to be kind of on an island in that beach too. So kind of want some direction from the park board on what they'd like to see done with that oak tree, if they want to see it preserved in the new beach or if they'd like to see that removed and replaced with a tree elsewhere. Moving from there, if you can go back to the plans and go to the next page if you could. The path to the fishing pier is currently not ADA compliant. We can replace just the section from the parking lot down to where it goes and tees off into the beach. The one, right now the plans are showing that it's not replacing it all the way to the pier. The one challenge is if we ever want to make that ADA compliant all the way down to the pier, we'd have to rip up some of the new sidewalk. Otherwise, we can just replace all of the sidewalk down to the pier as part of this plan. So that was another clarification. And then if you can see the shade structures there in red, some consideration so right now the plans show let's call it the furthest west, kind of as an ADA accessible one. So the other two originally were drawn with the post was in the sand, hanging over the sand. Making one paving out the sidewalk a little bit would make it ADA accessible, and then you could also mount an accessible picnic bench underneath it. You could make one of the structures, two of the structures, all three of the structures ADA accessible if you wanted to, or none of them if you wanted to make that as well. So looking for clarification on there. I will note that one thing that I discussed with Woodseth was taking out some of the swing to the north of that sidewalk and kind of straightening it out a little bit between the parking lot and the washing station, just to expand that western portion of the beach further to the south. So hopefully the next set of drawings kind of show that a little bit further back. And then finally, the plans do show a railing getting core drilled into the middle of the steps going down to the beach. Brent, if you could pull up that other photo for me. The steps are roughly about 8 feet wide. So the plans show core drilling a handrail into the middle of there. So it'd be roughly about 4 feet on either side. We can always pull those out of the plans as well, but looking for some clarification on those as well. But again, any comments and input on the plans overall would be appreciated.
Cool. Questions for Jesse?
You know I do. I think Kevin
I have no
has his hand up,
questions,
though.
but I have no questions for Jesse, but I have lots of comments. I don't.
Go ahead.
Are you, no questions?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
No, I'll just keep this brief. So I looked over these plans as well. I also went down and visited the tree. I don't see any way possible that we should cut down that tree. I just feel like we should work around it. It's a big, beautiful tree. I don't think we should cut it down. What I will say about this beach here is generally I'm on board with the basic conceptual design. I do think we need to be forward thinking about the ADA accessibility to the pier, but to me what's missing from this plan that is the most paramount, one of the most paramount important items is the connection to the bathrooms, which is up on top of the hill, which I do not see here anywhere. So to me that's I don't know if it's where that's coming in the plans, but if the intent here is that people are going to walk from here just across the grass up to our, I'm not sure that's a great plan. I'm feeling like people are going to park in the upper parking lot, want to go down an improved path to get to this beach, as well as come and go from the bathrooms at the top. But other than that, I think they really kind of address what we talked about last time, which was simplify this thing, get it down to the basics, give us grass and sand and spend most of our money there. But so generally I support this. That's all I have to say.
Troy.
Okay. Oak tree I would love to keep. So I don't know if we leave 10 foot of grass around it with the border or what we need to do. It's a beautiful tree. The umbrellas, I was kind of hoping the shade, I was kind of hoping that we would plant trees behind there and use trees for shade instead of have structures there. And I fully support the arch coming back and having more beach. And then can't we just go off from that elbow of on the north side of the sidewalk straight to the fishing pier? You know what I'm saying? Right here? ADA compliance to that fishing pier?
I think it does slope off pretty good when the closer you get to that pier, so it'd be tough to make an ADA accessible path going from there to the beach. So I think they tied it in back a little bit further.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that ADA accessible to that fishing pier.
We can replace all the way to the fishing pier and the whole thing can be accessible if you want.
Do what?
If we replace that little section that goes past the T, we can replace all of it and make the whole thing accessible if that's the direction you'd like to go.
I think we should make it ADA compliant to the pier. And then you brought up railings. That's, I guess I did have a question. The railings, that we need railings on top of those stone walls
So they,
or on the side of them.
down the middle of the stairs is what they're showing in the plans.
down the
As
middle.
one single steel tube hand railing that they would just core drill into the stairs. Just looking for direction if you want to keep it in the plans or remove it.
I think it's a great idea. And then skateboarders have a soft landing at the bottom. No, I'm okay with the railing being in there, but also I agree with Kevin, if it would be nice to have a path up to the bathrooms.
Kara?
All right, so keep the tree, ADA anywhere we can for both the fishing pier and the structure, and for sure a railing, because that will be helpful for people to balance to get down there.
Dave?
Where's the railing we're talking about?
The stone steps, the
Okay.
existing old stone steps.
Okay.
There's no railing there right now, it looks like.
Right.
People just use the wall, yeah.
So the intention would be to drill a couple holes in the middle of the concrete steps and then install a metal tube down the middle, not on the historic wall, but down the middle of the concrete. So you'd have about like two roughly 4-foot aisleways.
Did our original plan have a shower, an outside shower,
Foot wash.
a wash station? Yeah. Where?
In that circular,
Oh, right in the middle of that?
I swore the plans that we kind of tweaked last time had that pathway up to the parking lot. So, I mean, yeah, with everything Kara said, along with I thought it came from like the wash station and came up towards the parking lot.
yep.
Because the other one's just to that goat path to the pavilion. So I think everything Kara said, but getting that pathway back from the wash station area up to the main parking lot.
Just keep in mind, everyone that uses this is gonna be parking at the top, not down at the bottom.
Yep.
One more. Can we look at, is this concrete also?
Correct, these are all
Would that
concrete
being
block.
asphalt also instead of concrete?
We sure can.
just
I'd be a
thinking
little bit
cost.
nervous about the foot washing station. Generally, asphalt doesn't do as well with getting that much impact with the water. So I would strongly recommend the concrete there.
My thoughts, keep the tree, make the path to the pier ADA compliant. I like the accessible shade structure, and then railing's good, and definitely path to the bathrooms.
So move, Jaeger.
Seconded Miller.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Cool. Jesse, did we also have the campground area?
Yes, sir. Page 33, please, Brent. This one's a little bit more straightforward. I didn't have too many specific questions. Again, we've kind of talked a little bit about this. The one big revision here, we talked a little bit about it, was that little loop where it was connecting to before. That was actually our site one, the pull-through site. So we really didn't want to tie this into that site. For obvious reasons, we would lose our one pull-through site. So we had them revise where that connects in. So it now connects into the loop road. That kind of loops around the other 17 sites. We do lose a space that this goes through then, but we're obviously replacing with quite a bit more. So with this proposal, it goes from the current of 18 sites up to 28 total sites. And one thing they are working on is water and electric as part of the design. One thing we have to figure out is where the current facilities are and if they're sufficient to add on to. But we're going to work on that as part of the final plans as well. But looking for some general comments on the campground if there's any on this one.
Just real quick, are the trees that are drawn on here actually surveyed trees, or are they just imagery?
Surveyed trees as well as part if they didn't get the survey from our tree inventory.
Got it. So my only thought here is it does look like we could add one more stall right there, right, basically right there, in between those two trees. But other than that, I'm feeling like this is about right. That's all.
If you can quick clarify which
Is it topography? Huh?
which location?
It's right there.
Ah, gotcha.
For the record, right there.
Right there, for the record. To the northwesterly corner of.
Between the first and the second
35.00
stalls on the left.
stall.
Got it.
I have no comments.
I just have
Yeah, true.
one more question. So with that being said, what about on the large bend there?
That one looks like topography to me, maybe.
Is that too much of a slope?
There's quite a bit of
Inside
slope
and
there.
or outside? On the inside, I think it's too much of a slope, but what about the outside?
There's quite a bit of, as close as those contours are, that's a pretty decent slope. And if you, I wish I had a photo of it, I apologize. That's a pretty good sized kind of mound that comes up and then back over. So you'd have to do a little bit of grading to get that to level off to put a,
But what if it was more towards the start, right, towards the start of the bend, right there? Going straight up, kind of like where that line is. You know what I mean, right there. Yep.
I can ask them if that's something they can fit in. I'd be a little bit worried about the angle because you see how they're all back in. If they were to put a back in one there at the angle that you would need for the same 45-degree angle, if you're getting into those trees to the left of the cursor. But I can ask them if they can add another one there too.
Looks like there's room there.
30 stalls.
Yeah, that sounds better.
My only comment, I'd like to see 220 volt electric at each of the new campsites if we can. We don't actually need a motion, right, Jesse? We've just been doing them.
Nope, just general direction from the park board to give back to Woodseth.
Lovely. All right. Oh, that's.
You're saying I made a motion at J.C.'s for nothing?
Yeah, but you were.
For nothing.
Yeah.
We all approved it.
Powerful move, man.
One of our more clear motions, honestly. Item 8B, approve Mississippi River historical signage.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Shape. I know
Holly.
the group is also here
up,
to present
Holly.
on this, so I will turn this right over to them so that they can kind of introduce this item.
Are you ready to hear from me?
Oh, yeah, go for it. Yep, sorry.
So I'm representing the Brainerd History Group. So Carl Faust, local historian, you guys are probably all familiar with him. He has put his heart and soul into these signs. And last time we presented, the QR code was not working for Kara. So
Checking it again.
Right. And then we also had some concern about making sure that the background color matched the other city signs. So we took it upon ourselves to get all of the signs updated so that we can say, here they are. I'm basically here to get your final blessing.
Any questions? Yeah.
So when they're printed, is it printed in white? Or like what will, no,
Yes.
the lettering?
Yep, I believe so. And that has to do with the printer. these files are a little tricky because of the material that is being used. I don't know what the material is. I've just been told that it's tricky.
Like the metal or whatever, like the plastic
Yeah, it's a little,
or
there's a little,
whatever.
it's a little more hardcore than just like a cardboard or, paper sign kind of a thing, so.
It sort of is hard to read, but I don't know if anyone else thought that. I mean, I don't, maybe when it's like in real life.
Do the other city signs, are they in white?
I don't know, now I'm just remembering, I'm not sure.
I think they are.
Well,
Okay, so then maybe I'm just, and like sign, on page 37, that one looks like you can read it pretty well. So maybe it's just like the scanning of it.
that's what I was thinking. So maybe that's a great question, because I just assumed it was a resolution of the image
So-
that you drug in, that they're all actually going to be the same.
Correct.
resolution.
Okay.
And I know that the resolution does decline when you make them into a PDF versus what they will be like when they are
Okay.
printed.
They look nice.
Mr. Chair, if I can also clarify one piece in here, I put it in the agenda item as well, but I believe only 4 of them would be in the parks and the rest of them would be mounted along the river in some form or fashion, visible from the river.
These look super cool. Thank you for getting them.
You can thank Carl, but I will pass on your thanks.
I learned a lot reading the packet this week, so.
He's amazing. He knows his stuff, so, and he's passionate, so I'm happy to help support him, but it's really his thing.
I would be looking for a motion on this topic.
I'll make a motion to approve these new signs.
Second, Jaeger.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you, guys.
Scrolling. There we go. Self-service kayak rentals, Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bit of a timely one since we were talking about capital as well. So we were approached by Rent.Fun regarding a self-service kayak rental service. One spot we thought would be advantageous if this is something the park board would want to see in the parks would be Lum Park, as we do have an existing beach facility there, a calm water without a current for kind of more of the beginners and stuff like that. Having some of the presentation, essentially the services, the city puts forward $18,000 to have the rental kiosk installed. And then from there on, we share 50% of the revenues with Rent.Fun through that rental. They put in, I included in here a spreadsheet that kind of lines out the payback period depending on what kind of rental period you get or how many rentals on average you get per year. I think they used kind of a market rate of $25 per 2 hours. But did put all this information as well as their proposal in the packet with a memo that kind of summarizes it, as well as the comments that we did receive from the 4 different other Minnesota agencies that have implemented it. Pretty new service even for them. I think only 3 of them had it throughout this entire summer season. One of them was kind of late to this season, so didn't have a lot of feedback from them, but did get some pretty valuable feedback from the other 3. Those comments were also included with the packet. So really just kind of looking for direction from the park board if this is a service they'd like to explore further or potentially ask for budget dollars for.
Questions for Jesse?
There is an 8-unit one, right, that was a little more money?
Correct. I believe it was like, I have to look at that spreadsheet. They had it in there as there's an 8-unit for $26,000. The one thing I'll note in their agreement is you can start with 4, and if the demand is high enough, they'll just expand it for you at their cost.
So whoever signed up for the 26 one might not have read the packet. Because you get the 4 for free. Well, you get 4 for 18, but then they add a 4 if there's demand for free.
Yeah.
So
Right.
No other questions? Any comments, discussion on this?
I just have one.
Yeah,
Why,
Troy.
why aren't they here proposing this? Where are they from?
I'm not sure exactly where they're from. We did have a quick Zoom call meeting, kind of going through this, I asked for some more details and some clarification so that way we could present it to them. But no, I didn't ask them specifically to present. But if you'd like them to present to an upcoming meeting, we can absolutely ask them to.
So I think it sounds really cool, but kind of worried about vandalism. I guess I don't know what vandalism's like in Lum. And then just another new thing that we would be taking on, again, with that whole sticking with our plan. I know we need to decide, since we're making the beach area, I would think we'd want to have that be part of our new plans. But I guess I just don't. Yeah, I guess that's my thoughts right now.
Fair? Kevin?
Nothing. The way my brain is wired, I'm thinking we could build a pretty nice rack and buy 4 kayaks for less than 18 grand and just take the entire share. But thanks for the idea, guys. But anyways, I guess I don't have an opinion on this one way or another yet.
Thank you, Jesse, for reaching out to these other cities. I
Yeah.
liked reading Elk River's comments because it also feels too good to, like, there's got to be some kind of catch. So I appreciate that they had that feeling as well. I think this is a really cool option. I think somebody had the comment that it let them offer rentals earlier in the year and later than they did even for their own watercraft. I think it's an amenity we can add to a park that we're spending a lot of money on. I agree, Carrie, it is a new thing. I think this one is interesting because I don't think it's going to be a profit source for us, but it does seem like it will eventually pay itself back, which is neat and unusual for us. So I like that it's low maintenance. It doesn't require staff time to operate or to handle the rentals. So I think this is a pretty cool thing to pursue.
So, question. Do you know, Jesse, so we own the cage then, after it's installed? Being a metal guy and knowing what our environment does to metal up here, it's not necessarily low maintenance. I mean, it might be something that needs to be sandblasted and repainted over time. I mean, that can look really ugly.
For life, though.
It did?
That's what it says. It says they maintain the structure and all the equipment for life, I believe.
That is
Somebody
that is
correct me.
correct. I will note, and I think I tried to highlight that in the memo or the agenda, that if it's out of the control of rent.fund, so let's say vandalism, for instance, and somebody busts a gate, that cost of that gate comes off the top of the revenue before it is split. So if we're generating, let's say, easy math, $2,000 of revenue and a gate costs us $1,000, then us and rent.fund would split the remaining $1,000 after the repair is done. If it's out of the control of rent.fund, but just regular ongoing maintenance and repair and stuff like that, that they would cover that
Pretty good deal.
as part of their deal.
They're making their money right here, right on the original 18 grand.
Yeah. I think it's a nice, it sounds nice, it really does. It sounds like a good amenity to have in the park. Just don't know how long it would take to recoup our costs.
Would it make more sense to put it at the new park or Kiwanis, since that's where we have kayak launches?
Harder for them to make it back upriver if the river's flowing heavy though.
It is. Rice is the best spot because it's not a full.
So they might have planned for 2 hours and end up being out for 8 and then their credit card won't cover it or something.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Jesse. Sorry.
So I just like to quick highlight some of the comments that we received from the 3 that have ran this summer, and they were generally getting it in the 200 to 300 rental range. So if you look in the spreadsheet, depending on where you're at in that 200 to 300, you're either not making the profit after 5 years, or you're just kind of about breaking even. But again, after the 5 years, this does renew on its own at no cost. So beyond that 5 years, you can continue to generate revenue. But it really depends on what you're seeing. But that at least from the other 3 agencies in the state, that's about what they were averaging, is about 200 to 300 that first year.
What about the kayaks themselves? Damage to the kayaks?
Maintain them,
Do
100%.
they maintain them?
Life jackets,
Jeez.
everything.
Is there space on the beach? Like, I get it, it's a beach, but it's a really warm summer day. It's packed on the beach. People are renting kayaks. Is it gonna be like, is there a spot where we can put this cage thing so that there's a nice spot for people to get in and out and they're not like interrupting a little family has babies or kids that are swimming?
I would leave that up to the park board. There's a bunch of different spots in the area. You can have it closer to the boat launch. You could have it in that space between the new proposed parking lot and the new proposed beach expansion. There's that grass area in between those two. You could potentially put it there. There's a handful of different spots you could put it. I guess I'd look to the park board for direction when they'd like to see it. The one comment, or at least a couple comments, that we did receive from the other agencies was having it kind of close to the beach, or is what they wanted, and what they've seen as helpful is having it close to the beach.
This is something we want to think about and pick up next meeting. I think especially in the context of the budget discussion. Consider how it fits with that.
It'll give us a little bit more historical data from some of these partners also, just maybe ask them after a year or two how it's going, potentially.
For next meeting?
No, for next meeting? I was saying, next year, but, okay. All right, well, yeah, I feel strongly enough about this to make a motion one way or another.
All right, let's hold this over to next meeting and pick it up in the context of the budget. Campground discount for Habitat for Humanity, Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the volunteer coordinator for the Lakes Area Habitat for Humanity did reach out to us. They have a program that brings staffers in from outstate to assist with different house builds in the Brainerd Baxter area. They have a handful lined up for 2024. What they are requesting as part of that program, they work with local partners with adjacent RV campgrounds to provide little or no cost RV campsites for those people that are coming from out of state for a week or two during those house builds. So they did approach us to see if that would be something that we would entertain on providing that all or some discount to those staffers. Again, we really don't have anything in our policy that provides discounts for nonprofits or anything like that. But if the park board was willing to partner in with this, they were thinking with sometime in May. I did kind of highlight some of the usage that we'd seen in 2023 in May for just quick reference, but just really looking for park board if they want to offer that as a partnership or not.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so first of all, huge support of Habitat, work with them a lot. Awesome, amazing organization. Where I land on this is I just am very, very nervous about ever taking the position of granting some type of a service that isn't in kind to any nonprofit, because where does it stop? Who's the next nonprofit that wants to come in and wants or wants something else? So this was my exact criticism with the Arboretum and with the senior center. This was my exact criticism, is you have to be very, very careful that you're not showing some version of favoritism to one nonprofit versus another. So not that I don't think it's great and I wouldn't love to help help these entities and do personally, I do on a personal level as well, but I just think this is a really dangerous place for us to push some chips forward with one organization. So that's my only hesitancy with this is just, okay, where does it stop? So that's my concern. Thank you.
I also agree with that. Again, support habitat, but I feel like there's not a line there anymore then. But our rates, if they are going to have them stay there, it's still $50 or $55. I mean, I don't know how much a hotel, I feel like that's cheaper than a hotel. So either way, we support having them stay there, but paying full price.
John, anything? Just watching Troy's gears there.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think of some scenarios. So it looks like we're average 2 a day in May. And this is when they're asking to be able to come, is in May?
Yeah, when pulling up the calendar from this last May, it was on average 2 a day. During the Memorial Day weekend, there was about 6 reservations per day for, I think there was 3 different days that had 6.
Which still leaves plenty of sites open.
We have 18 currently.
Yeah. Soon to be 30. Let me throw this out there. What if we say Lum Park would offer in the spring months or in the off-peak months when we only average so many anyway, up to 3 or 4 sites at a discounted rate of $25 per day? I mean, if we just said, then we're not making it for,
To who? Any nonprofit is what you're saying?
yeah,
right?
to any nonprofit.
Oh, okay.
I mean, not just to Habitat for Humanity. If we're saying we don't want to have this be, next thing you know, we have 4 other nonprofits breathing down our neck that, well, we would like to do the same thing. What if we just say we'll offer 4 sites in the month of May and the month of October to nonprofits? And they have to apply for it and, I don't know. I'm just starting to throw some stuff out there. Because, some of these people do good things for other people. And I mean, if they're not being used anyway, and we say half price, and we put a limit on it, then it doesn't matter if others come. We can say, no, we have a limit. There's these sites, and when they're booked up, they're booked up.
Oh, yeah, Karen. Oh, Dave.
I was just going to say that your current policy is that you do not allow for discounts for nonprofits on any of your rentals. So, I mean, it's not to say that you can't change that, but is your current policy that you did put in place?
I like where you're going, Troy. I think it does make sense to have a policy because I think Kevin's concern and Kara said is real.
I think it is real, and I agree with them, but
So if we were to say, we have 50 campsite nights per year, right? First come, first serve for a nonprofit at a discounted rate. And then people contact us, they use them, or they don't contact us and they don't use them.
yeah, and they have to meet the criteria, which staff would have to write something up, but, I don't know. I'm just, instead of just saying no, I'm trying to look at an option that prevents what Kevin and Carrie are talking about, but still allows for some of it.
So Kevin and Kara, if we had a policy that was some quantity of discounted sites for any nonprofit, first come, first serve, do you feel like that would address your concerns?
Potentially, yep. I think you could craft some fairly complicated system to somehow make provisions for a nonprofit to get in there, and then then what happens if you got, just for some reason, some great group that comes along and wants to be paying customers at the last minute once those spots and they're gone? Seems, I don't have a strong opinion.
Isn't it something that we could also pull out of anytime we wanted. I mean, if we see a flux of, everybody wants to come to Lum Park in May, and we don't want to give up any campsites because it's $50 a night that we're losing. I mean, I think we could, I don't know that it has to be overly complicated.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just really my angle on it wasn't necessarily this specific instance. It was just having a united direction at whole that we've already adopted and just kind of maintaining that direction just for simplicity of staff, simplicity of just going about daily business. That was really why my main objection to it, not necessarily this specific. Because I think you could always cherry pick examples of where it'd be great to help or draft language or whatever. I think we would find that all the time, right? So that was really the impetus of my conversation, not specific to this, so.
One more.
Yeah, try.
Do you see a huge issue of doing this for 4 sites during the month of May? I mean, as far as drafting something up and saying you have to fill out a form.
I would just look for park board direction on what you would like to see. If you want to see 4 sites offered at a discounted rate, keep to the policy as it is currently. I'm okay, and we can come up with whatever the park board's wishes are on the matter. I'll just highlight that we do have the off-season rate in April and October at $25 a night currently, and that's really because you're not getting the water as well, because we don't charge the water up during those months. But we do have a shoulder season rate currently. We just don't have it for May and September either, or that allowance for nonprofits, like you mentioned.
Would anyone be opposed to seeing if Jesse and Kane can come up with a policy kind of based on what we're thinking about, Troy, looking at that in October?
Sure.
I would look at it.
I totally understand where Kevin and Carrie are coming from. I really do. But, you know, I could go either way. But, I mean, if something could be drafted up there where we could help someone out easily, and it's not causing a lot of extra work, I'd be in favor of doing it.
And the policy should be non-exclusive. If we are working on a policy, it's nonprofit in general. Just want to be clear, not just for Habitat, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there should be something in there too, like, 2 weeks out or something, if those are available. If they haven't booked them, then they're available to the public. So we don't just save them until the whole month of May or whatever. Like, there needs to be something where they have to be available if they don't call within 2 weeks of the date or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because they usually would know
Right.
it's gonna be. Unless we had snow in May, which that never happens, so.
That'd be weird. Yeah.
How long are they going to be here? These people are coming to build a house. How long are they going to be here for? I don't think we're talking 4 nights here, right?
It says 7 to 14. 7 to 14 days.
Yeah, they said about a week or
Per
two.
person, right? Per caravaner?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. With their donkeys.
I feel like you have enough to take a crack at something, Jesse. I'm happy. I think I'm kind of the lone advocate. I'm happy to chat too.
Sure, just looking, maybe make it official as park board direction to staff to draft up an ordinance or a revised policy, draft policy.
I'll make a motion for that.
Okay, I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Do we have to do this for nonprofits specifically? Can't we just let people like book 4 sites and get a discount? I mean, can we do that?
They already do. They already get it. You mean in non-prime
Just
time?
yeah, can people
Non-prime
just
time, they
like
get
if
it for
you're
25
the
bucks a
family
night.
comes up and we want to
already
book
a
out 4?
pretty good deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just, do we have to Make it,
Thing, like a bulk rate.
I mean, do we have to exclude, I mean, we're not even filling the campsite up as it is. I mean, does it really matter if we allow 4 people to book 4 sites for $100 during peak season? Does it have to be nonprofit, I think is my question. To have to go through additional hoops to, where they just call up and say, hey, we want 4 sites, and it doesn't matter who you are, and you can just have them for $100 a night or whatever, you know?
Just to be clear, Habitat's looking for little to no cost on these.
I I understand. I mean, that's what they're asking for half price, right?
Oh, they're asking for little to no cost.
Well, yes, little to no cost. But I'm just saying, like in this example, I mean, can we just offer bulk? I mean, is that an option? I mean, instead of dirtling around with nonprofits when we're not filling the campsite to begin with. I don't know. That's kind of my only thought behind this is that, I mean, we don't have a lot of lodging in the city to begin with. So as far as getting people to utilize our campground, I'm not opposed to the whole family's coming up. Let's just book 4 sites and give them X dollars, whatever. But I think that's my only thing. I'm totally cool with exploring a discount for nonprofits, but why not just a discount for booking a ton of sites?
We have a motion. Troy, do you want to update your motion to?
No, I want to pull it back. It's too much work. I recant my motion. This is gonna blow up on us, I think. The more I think about it, I scratch.
I think we still have to vote on it. Because it's been seconded.
The seconder can rescind it as well.
Or I take back my second. So do we have to make a motion to not approve this? Right? No. Nothing? Okay.
No action.
Silent, no action. Got it.
All right.
Somebody else can still make a motion if you felt strongly about it, Andrew.
I think I'm
Trying to
allowed
bring this meeting to
Yeah, yeah.
6 o'clock like we normally do.
100%.
Kelly's been pulling my leg for like,
He's been pulling your leg.
Oh, man.
Technically, the president can make a motion. It's not common, but you can.
okay,
You're a voting member.
fair.
Okay.
This would have simplified so much of this. Oh, crap. Okay. Well,
Lesson learned, don't listen to Kelly.
how many times has he said, I can't make it?
For the record.
Fascinating.
Hi, Kelly.
Yeah, I don't think there's, yeah, we're gonna leave that. All right. Discussion on the Great Pumpkin Festival. Katie. Or Jesse.
I'll jump in here really quick. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just highlighting, we have the Great Pumpkin Festival coming up October 14th from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. A lot of different programming and events planned for it. You can see it on the link there, the full list of stuff. I just wanted to bring it to the park board's attention that generally the event does have vehicles that enter the park. Salvation Army has their beverage truck that hands out hot cocoa. We have the trailer for hauling in pumpkins, and then vendors for accessing for their setup and tear down of the different vendor tents. So just clarifying the policy generally for events, if you want to allow the vehicles here, if not, do you want a different location or generally other input? In addition, we rent the giant pumpkin bounce house from Party World and found out that this year will be the last year that they will be renting it as they are retiring. However, they are also hosting an auction at the end of the year where the giant pumpkin bounce house will be up for auction. And if the park board would like to have some interest in putting in a maximum bid for the giant pumpkin bounce house for future Great Pumpkin Festivals, that is something that staff can do. I think there's an online version. I did include it in the packet, the picture of the giant pumpkin bounce house that we could essentially buy through the auction. We generally rent it, and the last rental we had last year was about $300, including the setup and delivery fees. So that's about what we're paying annually for the rental for that giant bounce house. So just looking for park board direction on those 2 items for the Great Pumpkin Festival.
Kevin.
Thank you. All right, very good. So I'm sure you guys anticipated that I might have something to say about this. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you so much for the staff for a few weeks ago, actually almost going on a month ago now, for the work with the bollards and moving the boulders out there and all of that work. I don't know if anybody's been by there, but Gregory is turning the corner. The grass is growing back. It's looking great. There's no mud on the sidewalks or asphalt. Came with tremendous resistance, which I'm somewhat crestfallen about, but I think we did the right thing and I'm super happy about it. Now, that being said, leads me right into this. The reality is, this is my opinion, that Gregory is an amazing park. It's a beautiful place. Everyone wants to be there. In my opinion, it's just not a good fit for this type of an event. We have easily, you can count on one hand, at least 4 other places that are a perfect fit for this, where people could drive literally right up to the pavilion. You could put your food trucks right next to the pavilion, have 0 damage, no one drives on the grass, you got room for the kids to play in the grass, and so forth. Think about Memorial. Be awesome. You got a gate that opens right back to the back of, I don't know if softball field 1 is being used, but you could go right out into the softball field. It's gated in, kids could, perfect. And all your food trucks and everything could be right there. Lum, same thing. Parking lot right up on top, bathrooms right there. You could line up your food trucks, same thing. Buffalo, and keep going right on down the list. So I think that just what I'm trying to get across here is that I'm happy to say that we're starting to see some changes with just the behavior of Gregory, but I think that we as a group, I want us to continue to think that Gregory is just a destination that is a good fit for some things and not necessarily maybe the greatest fit for other things, especially those events that are trucks and traffic and fire trucks and food trucks and all of that kind of thing, just because of the potential for damage. We get 2 or 3 rainy days leading up to the Pumpkin Festival, and we're going to be sending our crew over there to fix the ruts, to fix everything like we've done before. So my personal opinion is that we just have other parks that are a much better fit for this. Now, could it be moved at this late time? That's probably a better question there, but I think you put up a few signs and say, hey, we moved it over here. There's another point just to this that I'd like to make. Why does Gregory get the Pumpkin Festival every single year? Why not other neighborhoods? We have roughly 5 boroughs or neighborhoods in City of Brainerd. Why can't we just move it around every year? Same thing with other events as well. Why just only Gregory? So I'm just leaning towards just thinking about events like this in other locations that are a much better fit with much less damage and just a way better fit for the event itself. If we can't get that, I would be in favor of closing whatever street is to the west. I'm just struggling here. Is that 6th? 5th? 5th. Closing 5th off and putting your food trucks along 5th, closing it, say, for instance, the 2 blocks adjoining Gregory there. Go ahead, have it at Gregory if you want to, but my leaning is let's just keep trying to keep those trucks and all that equipment out of Gregory. We're just turning the corner on it. That's all. Thank you. Sorry.
I'm trying to figure out if he's acting or not.
No, I'm not.
I'm just kidding. Katie, is it too late to move it?
No, that's why we're bringing it to you right now, is that I could design a different map. I did find out that the trail ride, the horses that we had go through Gregory, they're not going to be able to come back foreseeably even in the future, just due to low staffing. And that was probably there, or Lum maybe, were the 2 parks that it worked really well because of the fall colors and just through the trees. So without them, I do feel like another park could be done. What park? I would love to hear your guys' input.
So I agree with Kevin. I would love to see this move around the city to different parks. Not Buster Park. No, not Buster Park. I just don't know, if some people are like me, I don't check my emails as often as I should, so if they're going to where they think the Pumpkin Festival is and then it's not there, that's the last thing I want to have happen for this year, but.
We'll put up some signs and say, hey, it's over there.
Yep. So if you guys think it's a problem moving it this year, I would leave that up to you guys. I mean, I know it's up to us, but I mean, if you were to say, it sounds like you're not saying that.
We should be able to accommodate it. We have it on the social media, and we would push out that information probably a few times just to make sure people are trying to get that information out, to let them know that if the venue's changed, where it's going to be, and then going down our list of vendors and just letting them know as well.
Plus then people get a look at our other parks that maybe they don't normally go to. So I think it's a great idea to move it around and, I don't know if we need to pick a park then this year. I think J.C.'s is another good option, a lot of open space there and especially now that nothing's yet happened. I don't think you'd have any trouble with any of those items at J.C.'s Park, but or any of the other ones that Kevin has mentioned. I think J.C.'s Park might be a good option to have it.
Kara.
Are you done, Troy?
I'm done, yep.
Okay.
If I stop for 5 seconds,
Just jump right in. I think we should lead by example and move our event, because I don't think it would look very good if we were to like, no one else can have vehicles in there. And then we're like, well, we're the city, we can do it. So I think that we should move it, especially Katie, if you are okay moving it. And I love the idea of moving it around to different parks and figuring that out, but.
If I can ask for just clarification, if that's the direction of the park board, which park are you thinking? For J.C.'s, and I've heard a couple other ones, but
Is there any events in any of the parks this weekend, or that weekend, I mean? It's like softball going on, or kickball, I mean, is there anyone else that rented a pavilion maybe, that you know of? No?
Not off the top of my head, but I can pull a report too.
Okay. I'll say Buffalo Hills, because it's right in my neighborhood, but no, really,
Buffalo Works also, that's on the list. I mean, that's another pretty decent fit for it. You could use the softball fields for the pumpkin rolling and all that stuff, and all the trucks could fit.
all that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with J.C.'s as well. I mean, any of those, Memorial obviously is,
yeah, I don't think it
good
really
one, but-
matters where we start. I'm perfect. I think Buffalo's a good start. I think we should just move it around and start looking at that for all of our events. Except for the fishing one, we can't do it Buffalo or J.C.'s probably.
There's one great advantage to Memorial. It has a ton of exposure, so you could sign along, the fence leading up to it, and people would see into it. So that's the only advantage there. But as far as I'm concerned, I think it'd be great to just move it around all the neighborhood parks that have parking inside them.
but I think, Katie, you're the planner, so if you, maybe we let you choose or bring, I don't know. I know it's in like a couple weeks, so obviously you need to decide this right now. But was there one that you would choose as your first option besides Gregory?
My first thought was Lyman P. White Park, but what you need to be aware of is that when we paint the lines for the racing, like that, the races are kind of the center of the event in a way. So wherever we do this, painting the lines will need to be able to be done. Like, do we really want lines well, all our adult fields should be done with their sports by this event. So that's the good news. So Memorial is still a feasible option. Having a large pavilion would be nice. Electricity would be great for some of those vendors. Having a nice parking lot would also be great for the number of people that do come to the event. So those are just some things to consider. I would be fine with J.C.'s, Buffalo Hills, Lyman P. White, and other suggestions if something else came to mind.
All of the pavilions are available that day.
Cool, thank you.
I'd make a motion let's just start on the north side and that we move the event to Memorial Park. And then, wait, you're also asking about a pumpkin. You guys want to put some money towards the Great Pumpkin Bounce House? I don't know.
Would you like to separate those, Troy? We can do a motion.
Yes, we can separate them. Motion to move the Pumpkin Festival to Memorial Park.
Second.
I have a comment on it. I don't know. The success of the festival itself I mean, this is just me spitballing here, but it seems like moving it to a different park is so strange, given just the location and the central location of this city's event. So outside of, where everybody goes and all the parking and all of that, like being able to just walk downtown to a festival where you see the sign here, it's kind of weird to me. Like, it just feels weird pushing it kind of outside of the city or into other places. It feels like Gregory Park's the centrally located place for a festival like this. So, again, not opposed to it. I like to see it in my neighborhood. That'd be cool, but I don't know. I mean, the JC's, the parking's weird. I don't know. The parking seems like the big problem here. So, I guess, yeah. However,
JC's has a lot of parking.
yeah, a lot of street parking on the one side, and then,
Tons of
yeah,
parking
in the
at
dirt on the other side.
Yeah, the dirt. People can park in the
What
dirt.
conditions would make that?
I don't know. It's just, like I said, when I envision things like this, as a person that would go to this or like to walk to something like this, having it moving, the way that the city flows, it just kind of goes from downtown where people are able to visit the shops and do a lot of commerce. From this and then moving through the city, it just makes more sense. And I think that's why a lot of these festivals end up in Gregory Park, is because of the distance between here and downtown Brainerd. But I mean, there's nothing, I'm not opposed to bouncing it around. I think everybody should be able to enjoy this. I just think it does strike me as a little awkward pushing it outside of that park location. So.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The motion passes. Now let's talk about the giant inflatable pumpkin.
I'll volunteer to go there and bid on it. I just need an amount. And my buddy Matt Holmstrom will attend and help out as well.
I just don't want to be outbid personally, so if we could.
Well, you can come with.
Well,
We could run 'em up.
could run them up, yeah.
It seems like a no-brainer to own this pumpkin that we've been renting. How many
totally,
years
yeah.
have we been renting this now? Like,
I believe 3 years at least now, so.
how much would we spend on it? What's the limit? Come on, guys.
I don't know, what's our budget? I mean, like, where's the money coming from?
Can somebody Google this quick to see what one is new?
Andrew's way faster. I'm not even gonna try because I know he's gonna be faster, so.
That's why my phone's still sitting.
$250.
To rent.
Oh, wait, that's on partyworld.com.
Oh, we've been overpaying.
Oh,
Well,
they're pretty expensive.
It-
I mean, like, $1,000.
it does, yeah.
Boxes all?
Well,
2,900, depends on what site.
yeah, I guess it depends on the size of it too, because yeah, one on USAinflatables.com is $259. Looks almost identical. Actually, it is identical. There it is. Yep. Thanks, Brett. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not sure. Is that a rental?
Yeah.
Add to cart.
Yeah.
Well, so if you wanted to have a bid on the auction for a much smaller amount, then that'd be something to do.
Yeah. I mean, you'd like to think so, right? But
That can't be the price of it.
That's gotta be the,
What about $1,500?
Max, right? We'll get it for less than that.
Now that you've announced it on YouTube.
yeah, the whole world's gonna be there to show up and outbid us.
How many current views? 36?
Just so, yeah.
We at 16 right now?
All right,
Tens of
We will be
viewers.
bidding
Tens
up
of
to 10
viewers.
grand. If any has any ambitions of showing up and getting this pumpkin, yeah, not gonna happen.
Adjourn to a closed session for pumpkin bidding. Would this be park dedication funds? Probably.
No, I'd probably take it out of our operating budget.
Do you have a sense of like what is left in there we could use? Oh, wait.
Use some mayor funds, maybe.
Contingency
signed the-
funds?
yeah,
That's
I
for
have-
contingencies.
Well, this is
What's
very,
the contingency?
well, what if we lose
Have a
this,
pumpkin?
you know?
We could have a discussion.
When's the auction?
21st.
Of-
I'll come back with a pumpkin, you guys figure out how to pay for it. How about that?
Jesse, I'll speak with you afterwards.
I don't know, if the dome like 2,000 feels reasonable.
Max,
Like
yeah.
another 6 or 7 years of
No,
rental.
500.
Pop a hole in it. You're gonna pay $2,000 and then you're gonna pop a hole in it.
Oh,
And No merit.
I have a feeling we'll get this fairly reasonably. If it starts feeling unreasonable, we're out.
All right.
Are you guys okay if I go and try and buy this thing? Or do we want staff to do this? Can I even legally do this? I suppose we should run this past legal and make sure that I can go and bid on this thing.
So I can clarify, they do have it online as well, where you can put the bid online.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay.
So if you wanted to establish a maximum, we can log in and establish what that maximum is on the online bidding site, and then it would just go until it doesn't go any further than the maximum.
All right, that makes it even easier. I suggest we let the mayor and Jesse talk about this first, and then,
Somebody
Brett?
just asked me for contingency funds, and I, off the top of my head, cannot remember what that was for. So I just don't want to overpromise.
Okay, we can move this to next month, can't we?
no, it's October 21st is the sale.
Oh,
And our pumpkin festival's coming up.
so help me.
Can we even rent it this year if we don't buy
yes,
it?
she said they would rent it this year.
They got a rent-to-own program?
That would be good.
So can you guys just like choose an amount that's gonna work and then email us, or is that like?
That's what we're looking for direction from the park board is if,
$1,500
one, do you want to buy it? But two, how much do you want to buy it for? What would the maximum be?
Do we recall if this thing's in good shape, Katie? Fine,
1,000?
perfect.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel like 3 years of rentals.
You think that's way too much, Katie?
That would be our
I
max.
saw you wincing.
I mean,
That was our max.
start a little
Yeah, but we were asked for a max.
I hope we start lower.
Say that's-
Maybe we shouldn't be saying what our max is here in front of our 11 viewers.
We need a motion, right? Or you just need direction?
I would like, yeah, a motion if I could,
Okay,
please.
I'll make a motion to purchase or attend the auction, spend a maximum of $1,000 on the pumpkin.
Second.
Any discussion on the pumpkin motion?
Can we explore just purchasing it? I mean, is that a no? Like, they're definitely putting this thing out for auction? Can we
Oh,
just try to buy it from them? I mean, is that an option?
If they know that a city wants this thing's gonna be $42,000.
I'm just saying, I mean, you know, it's my only thought is, can we buy this? I mean, like, as our, hey, we're renting this for 300, can't we just buy it for X amount of money? I mean, what do you guys anticipate? So, that's my only comment, so.
We probably should have made a motion that the max would be determined at another time.
What
As our
time?
mayor decided he wanted to talk to Jesse offline. So
Well,
That was about the contingency.
if you want to use the mayor's contingency funds, I don't even need your permission.
Boom.
Yeah.
No, I mean, even our own.
No, if you guys are interested in it, I would be, this is something that the mayor's contingency funds could potentially be used for, as long as it's going to the general good and not just a selective thing. It is something could be. I'm now remembering what the other piece was, which was about $1,000. Jennifer, do you remember if it's about $2,500 for the mayor's contingency funds a year? We never spend it. I
This
think
would easily fit the
we
ARPA.
spent it on sleds last year, the last couple of years.
I don't recall the dollar amount, but I can find out and
Okay.
get back to you.
If you guys are interested, I can work with Jesse to try and.
Interested.
Yep.
Spending your money.
Yeah, we never spend the mayor's contingency funds. That is a thing that I've tried not to do. But typically when I do, it has been for the park board, the sleds for Big Sev. That fits right in line with what we've been doing, so I have no problem with that. But I make no promises either.
No, certainly not. Rather spend yours than ours, so.
I believe one year I requested trees that I never got, so there's still funds for that somewhere.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of up to $1,000 on the pumpkin bouncy house, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now made a public bid in an auction, which is a very efficient action for us.
We'll see it at Jonathan's house set up all year long.
All right, next we have the public forum. Wait, I got a spiel. Hang on, I gotta read that. Do I? Oh, yes. We'll open the public forum here at 5:50. Anyone who wishes to speak can come up. You can say your name, your address. We'll go from there.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Holmstrom. My address is 17355 Rivers Trail, Brainerd, Minnesota. I'd just like to read a letter to you guys tonight. It was drafted on behalf of the Ski Loans. So if you'd be so kind, I'd read this letter to you. Dear Brainerd Park Board members, as a devoted member of the Brainerd Ski Loons, I wish to speak on their behalf to continue to foster our relationship and partnership with the City of Brainerd. Certain miscommunications have arisen recently, but we remain committed to openness and transparency. We want to strive to continue to serve the needs of the community and provide opportunities for personal development, teamwork, and community involvement through water sports. We believe it is essential to highlight the alignment between the mission of the Brainerd Ski Loons and the broader vision of the City of Brainerd, as well as the objectives of the Brainerd Park Board. Our city, renowned for its rich natural beauty and vibrant community spirit, has always encouraged outdoor recreation and cultural activities that foster community bonding and tourism. The Brainerd Ski Loons, since its inception, have endeavored to embody these values. By showcasing water skiing as a spirited and captivating sport, we aim to draw both residents and visitors closer to the pristine waters and parks of Brainerd, emphasizing its charm and promoting its recreational potential. The Brainerd Ski Loons want to be part of the solution and continue to grow and foster community involvement and participation. Whether that be with our show team, youth clinics, or community partnerships, we are not asking for anything today. We just want to represent our values and the longer-term mutual benefits. We also want to express our commitment to working through any issues that arise. We wish to minimize the city's legal liability from partnering with a great organization, and although our past contract reflected that, we plan to study other models and contracts that cities and their local ski teams have to ensure a great outcome for both parties moving forward. In sum, our mission as the Brainerd Ski Loons directly echoes the vision of Brainerd and the objectives of the Park Board. We passionately believe that with collaborative dialogue and understanding, we can continue to serve the community in a manner that both entertains and respects its needs. Thank you. I have copies if you guys would like them.
Sure.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Thank you. It's in Norson's colors, just saying. Yeah. Mhm.
Anyone else for the public forum? All right, we will close the public forum here at 5:53. Jesse, staff reports. Or, I don't know who wants to go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My quick staff report, adult sports, where we left off. MS1 finished their summer season. The reason I attached these photos is that you can just see the happiness that we bring to the community. So that's why I do that. But so they finished. Fall pickleball actually is really great weather besides a couple rain situations, but it's been pretty nice to play in this fall. So just to know that. And then also the cement, when it gets wet, gets extremely slick. So just
be aware of that. That's caused a couple cancellations for us. But good numbers for splitting up this year between just for fun and competitive on both Tuesday and Thursdays. Fall, these are our finalized numbers for this fall. The one league that did fill up was co-ed on Thursdays, 9 teams. We do 9 teams so that we do kind of a 3-team rotation on each field. It's good numbers for us, just so you know. That's why we don't maximize at 12 like we do in the summer. But yeah, so there's definitely some ideas floating around for next year on how we structure and maybe do something like a draft type league where people can sign up individually instead of as a team on Wednesdays instead of the upper, because they only had 5 teams this year. So that's just another interesting idea for next year. But moving forward, the end of summer, we did an I Love the 90s tournament themes across the whole weekend. Pickleball doubles, we had 9 teams, very high level. I was actually surprised. Almost all the teams kicked my butt. I participated with my sister-in-law, and it was ugly. And then for adult softball, we had 5 teams, but we loved to see the costumes this year. A lot of them dressed up in the 90s garb. And then grass volleyball, co-ed, 4s, 11 teams. That almost doubled in size this year. So we switched it to a Sunday tournament, and that worked really well. We did turn on the lights for them, and just being able to play under the lights was kind of cool from a grass standpoint. Great Pumpkin Festival, we already kind of went over all of that. New this year, I am planning on doing chickens carving pumpkins. So this is an interesting concept where I'm gonna have it fenced in and then an overhead net, but it's gonna be viewed, like you can see chickens actually carving pumpkins. We'll lightly carve the pumpkins so that we kind of create a general design, and then the chickens will eat at it, and you'll get to kind of view that. I don't know. It sounded interesting, and I've seen it done. Chickens like pumpkin, it's a fact. And then we'll have a paint a pumpkin station, and then we're working on a more elaborate photo shoot area. So my intern is helping put together that, and then we're working with the streets department on getting some of the materials for that photo shoot area. The Halloween is going to be a little less elaborate and just going to have treats for dogs that show up while they're trick-or-treating on October 31st from 4:30 to 6 at the dog park. So very low-key, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
I'll just highlight, I obviously have the list of parks maintenance, so I kind of highlighted a little bit. They really moved into their fall maintenance tasks with blowing down the system. So if you haven't seen the social media post, the splash pad is now closed. Today was kind of their last day of trying to, like, it's a 2-day process to really empty that system out and get it cleared out. So it takes a while for that one, but it is closed now, and they're going to start working their way through the different parks on blowing down the systems and winterizing. So don't be surprised as you start, even though we got 80 degrees and stuff coming up this upcoming weekend, we're going to have facilities that are actually going to be closed, and that's just because it does take a few weeks to get through the entire park system and blow everything down and get it all winterized. So you'll see different restroom buildings start closing up because we just don't have the water there anymore. And they are continuing to wrap up some of our big projects, like Board Member Yeager mentioned. We got the new grass seed planted down at Gregory. Hopefully we can get a good month's worth of decent weather without freezing to try and get that to germinate before the winter season. But they've been doing a lot of different projects. I think they just finished up their building of it's a big wood sign for the boat signage at the boat launch, because right now we have like 4 different steel posts with a whole bunch of signage. So trying to make a little bit more of an organized board for that. Kind of similar like you see at other different association boat launches, where it's all in one board for all the information, like the aquatic invasive species signs, all that stuff, and kind of cleaning that up since we just did that nice improvement down there at the boat launch. I also, because we have so many different projects going on at any one time, I started trying to, instead of trying to do big reports at this point, I figured I'd just include this in the report so you guys can see where we're at with all these different projects. The one thing I'll highlight here that's not in that list is the BPU Force Main Crossing Project. I think we talked a little bit about it earlier this summer. They're doing that Mississippi River crossing with the force main down by the old pump station down in Rotary Park. They are requesting, at least I noticed in one of the minutes, being able to use some, if not most, of the Rotary Park parking lot this like late fall when they get started for staging some materials. So I wanted to ask if there was any reservations from the park board about allowing them to use a chunk of that parking lot for staging the materials.
I would only say if anyone has it like rented, again, sorry, Brittany, that'd be a question for you, but if someone's like planning to do something and they need a lot of parking, that would be the only thing otherwise.
Okay.
I think they have plenty other places to park down there.
Yeah, we can definitely take a look at it, but I'll let them know that would be an option if there's no other reservations on it. But yeah, that's all I have for my report.
Thanks, Jesse. I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move, Jaeger.
Second, Schaefer.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
You skip board members.
Oh, shoot.
Too late now.
Are there any board member reports?
Nope.
Yeah.
Next time.